Undoing a bind-off doesn't have to be complicated. In this video, I'll show you 2 ways to unravel a bind-off, depending on whether or not the yarn has been cut. Here we have a fully completed bind-off. The yarn is cut, all the stitches are secured, and a small tail remains from the cut. And then we have the other situation, where you've bound off all the stitches except the last one, and you still have the working yarn attached to the ball. We'll go through how to unravel the bind-off in each case and put all the stitches back onto the needle so you can continue knitting your piece. We'll start with the easiest case, when you still have a live stitch and the working yarn is not cut. Basically, we'll undo the bound of stitches one by one and transfer them back onto the needle. The first thing to do is gently pull the working yarn that goes to the ball. This will release your first bound off stitch. So pull it gently like this. You can see that this stitch is now open and ready to be returned to the needle. This one still has the working yarn attached, which means it will be the next one to unravel. Take your needle and secure the stitch by inserting it onto the needle. And just like this is your first stitch back on the needle. And it's all about repeating this process. Pull the yarn to release the next stitch, and then transfer the stitch onto the needle. And again, you pull and pick up the stitch. I'll show you a few more times how to gently pull and pick up each unraveled stitch. Sometimes, like here, the stitch loop is very small. You can use your fingers to gently stretch the loop, making it easier to place on the needle. You can see it here again. This stitch is very small, so I gently stretch it with my fingers to make it easier to pick up. For the last stitch, you can either undo it as well, or if you want to start knitting right away, simply pick it up with the other needle and continue your row. You pick it up like this, and then you can start knitting. Now that the bind-off has been fully unraveled, all your stitches are live again on the needle, and you can continue knitting your piece as usual. In my case, I keep knitting in knit stitch. Now let's move on the second situation, where the bind-off is fully completed and the yarn has already been cut. The technique is very similar to what we did before, but there is one extra step at the beginning. After that, the process is the same as in the previous example. First, we need to find where the yarn tail is coming from. You can see here that it comes from this stitch. What we are going to do is gently open the stitch a little with our fingers, like this, then grab the yarn tail and gently pull it out, removing it completely. You can still see that the yarn tail is passing through this stitch, and since we need to pick up the stitch, we first need to free it from the yarn. To do that, we simply pull the yarn out like this. Now you can see that we have the same situation as before. This stitch is ready to be placed back on the needle. So insert your needle into the stitch like this. From here on, we start unraveling the same way as in the other swatch, by gently pulling the yarn and picking up each stitch onto the needle. This time though, I'll show you a different way to deal with the very last stitch. But first, we unravel all the stitches as before. Pull the yarn and pick up the stitch. You pull and you pick it up. Repeat this until you reach the last stitch. Here we are at the last 2 stitches. First, we pull the yarn and pick up the stitch as normal. Now, let's look another way to handle the final stitch. Instead of pick it up right away, now we will unknit it. To do that, gently pull the yarn, but not too much, because you could accidentally unknit the stitch below. Now, pick up the stitch with the needle. And just like that, you have all the stitches back on the needle, ready to be knitted. Now all the stitches are live again on the needle, ready to be knitted, so you can continue working on your piece. This is a very useful technique to know whenever you want to add more rows to a piece that has already been bound off.